What's up YouTube? Welcome to the channel. My name is Fareed, and in today's video, I want to give you guys an update on the Meld Akamon bridge. If you're new to Cardano, Meld is a DeFi banking protocol coming to the blockchain. Meld aims to simplify the lending and borrowing of crypto assets, as well as fiat, using a decentralized system. In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about the Akamon bridge and some of the recent updates that have just been released about it. If you've never heard of the Meld Akamon bridge before, this is a brand new bit of software that the Meld team is actually developing themselves in order to leverage interoperability and to bring liquidity from the Polygon network to the Cardano blockchain. The Meld Akamon bridge will allow for liquidity to flow between the Cardano blockchains and the Polygon blockchains through the use of melded assets. And so if you hold Cardano or ADA, you'll be able to use the bridge to transfer or to convert your ADA tokens into melded ADA tokens. And if you're on the Polygon network, you'll be able to use the Akamon bridge to move your Matic tokens into melded Matic. If you're interested in learning more about the Akamon bridge, I do have a separate video that I released about 2 or so weeks ago, and that's going to cover the bridge in a lot more detail. And I'm going to leave a link to that video in the top right hand corner of this video. In today's video, I want to take a look at the Akamon Alpha update that was released by the Meld team. This particular update has a lot of the usage stats associated with the alpha version of the Akamon bridge that was released in the middle of May. And it also talks a little bit about their rewards program. Now, once we review that, I'm going to jump into the Akamon beta white paper, which was also released late last week. Before I jump into the Akamon Alpha update, I did want to remind you guys that the Akamon bridge is currently available for testing on the testnet. And so if you're interested in participating, I'll leave a link to the Meld Discord in the description down below, as well as some of the supporting documents that you're going to need in order to get you started. Jumping into the article, we can see that the Meld Akamon bridge, since its launch in mid-May, has gathered more than 10,000 official transactions. In addition to that, if I scroll down here in the article, we can see that there have been more than 3,800 unique Cardano addresses that have interacted with the Akamon bridge, whereas there's been more than 1,400 different Polygon addresses that have been testing the Akamon bridge. On top of that, there's been more than 1.7 million ADA and transaction volume. When it comes to Akamon transaction speed, there was a little bit of a slowdown when we saw a huge influx of users joining their Discord in order to test. But with that said, the slowest transaction on the bridge took a total of 3 days, 9 hours, and 36 minutes to be processed, whereas the fastest transaction on the Akamon bridge took 9.4 seconds. Scrolling down in the article, the Meld team also gives us an update on the development of the Akamon Alpha, as well as what they're doing when it comes to some of the bugs that have been discovered during testing, and some of the additional enhancements that they plan on making. If you're interested in finding out more about all of these updates, I'll leave a link to the Trello board, which is a development management system that the Meld team has provided us with in order to manage the status of each of their tickets. The last thing I want to talk about in the update article is the rewards program. And so scrolling down to that section here, we can see that the Meld team is currently working to identify the best solution in which to reward all of their testers. In order to qualify as an Akamon tester, you're going to have to perform transactions and token transfers to and from the Cardano and Polygon networks using Test ADA and Test Matic. Once you've tested the Meld Akamon bridge, you're then going to have to provide feedback to the Meld team as to what you liked about the app and what they could potentially do to improve it. In order to do that, you can use the Typeform survey that the Meld team has set up, which I'll leave a link to down in the description below. Or as an alternative, you can leave a message directly in the Meld Discord. That's going to wrap it up for the Akamon Alpha update. Next, let's talk about the Akamon Beta white paper that was just released. Before we jump into the beta white paper, I did want to mention that this particular white paper is going to focus more or less on high-level descriptions and visual depictions, and as additional versions of the white papers are released, those will go into more technical detail. Taking a look at the white paper, we can see that the beta version will be focused on the UI and UX, the infrastructure, and basic foundations of the Meld Akamon bridge. In additional future versions of the Meld Akamon bridge, the team does plan on addressing decentralization. The beta white paper also has a similar diagram to what we saw in the alpha white paper. This particular diagram depicts how the Akamon bridge will be interacting with the Cardano and Polygon networks. The first diagram depicts the process of moving ADA into melted ADA on the Ethereum network. In order to do that, we would have a Cardano wallet in which we would deposit some ADA into a Cardano contract. The Akamon node would then witness that contract, and in return, it would mint to a Polygon contract the same equivalent amount of ADA that I deposited on the Cardano blockchain into my Ethereum-based wallet. Now, if I were to do the opposite, which was to move my melded Matic, which is on Ethereum, to the Cardano blockchain, I would have to burn that melded ADA into a Polygon contract, which again the Akamon node would witness, and in return it would notify my original Cardano contract, in which point the original ADA that I had deposited would then be returned back to my Cardano wallet. One last thing that I want to highlight is this little bit of information down here at the very bottom of the article, and this basically states that the Meld team will be introducing discount programs for Akamon NFT holders who are using the bridge, as well as the ability for users to pay their bridge fees using the Meld token. The next section of the white paper that I want to jump into is surrounding the Akamon API. For those of you who are not aware of what the Akamon API is, this is going to be a service that's going to be used to serve data directly from the Akamon database. Now, the Meld team mentioned in the alpha version of their white paper that they do plan on decentralizing nodes in the future, and that they plan on allowing the community to basically run nodes to verify transactions occurring on the Akamon bridge. With that said, it looks like anybody in the future who's going to be running an Akamon node will be able to leverage the Akamon API. As the article states, as we decentralize the bridge with time, community members should be able to build and operate their own Akamon frontend on top of its node and API server. I've personally dealt with APIs before because I do work in a technical profession, and I can definitely see the benefits in leveraging an API. And so the fact that the Meld team has this at the forefront of the Akamon bridge is a really good sign. In the interest of time, I'm not going to walk through any more sections within the beta white paper, but as I mentioned before, if you're interested in reading this, you can find the link to it in the description. Now, understanding that, I did want to highlight a few of the additional sections that I'm not going to be covering, but that are very important within the white paper. And so this particular white paper also covers the database architecture of the Akamon bridge, as well as the validator scripts and UTXO models. And so if you're very technical, I do think that that is very helpful in terms of information. In terms of priorities for the Meld team, because they do have a lot of development going on, they'll first be focusing on the wrapping of Meld to Polygon. And then once that's wrapped up, they'll be focusing on wrapping Bitcoin as well as stablecoins into the Cardano ecosystem. The Meld team also confirmed that they'll be announcing some additional Akamon bridge partners, as well as some new token choices. The last thing I want to mention before I wrap up today's video is that the beta version of the Akamon bridge is expected to launch sometime in June. That's going to wrap it up for today's video on the Meld Akamon bridge and some of its recent announcements. If you found some of this information to be helpful, please make sure to tap that like button. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please make sure to leave those down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.